Alrighty, welcome back. We're here with another episode of the death and resurrection of our world. I nearly completely forgot the title. We're going to move on to something that's a little bit heavier now. Some pretty serious topics coming up, and we're gonna touch briefly on the topics. This particular episode is about the beast and the mark of the beast. You want to do just sort of a brief overview of the beast itself and the mark of the beast. Obviously, as we mentioned earlier, these podcasts and episodes go hand in hand with the book that Dan has written. And so the brief overview is just to give you a little bit of an understanding. And then if you really want to get into it, go and read the book. We're not promoting the book for any financial gain. It's just so people have an understanding. It's the same with the podcast. We're not aiming to be famous or make any money out of it. It's just for the understanding of what the scripture gives us insight into with these upcoming events. So, take it away.
So first we should look at the beast. So over the centuries, many people have guessed and named and labelled certain people as the beast, and many have labelled the Roman Catholic Church. And through a period of time, they could have been the beast. What we've got to look at is this beast will gain control of the world, basically. They will have power over one country after another. They will gain the political control of one people group after another people group after another. They will grow in the financial system. They will own the financial system and be the controller of the financial system time after time after time. So what people have looked at, you need to look at the world as it is today to start to understand who the beast could be, the first beast. So if we looked at, and a lot of people have tried to say it was America, but that could never have been so, because America was the country that gave the greatest gift of the gospel more than anyone in the world. You can't be both. But we've known America has had the political control and the financial control around the world, majority of the world, for the last 40, 50 years. We're starting to see now where all of that is shifting and changing. The political arena is completely different. The financial arena is completely different, and it's changing daily. What we read and everybody should read, Revelation 13, all of Revelation 13. What Revelation 13 describes is two beasts. One is called the Antichrist, the other is called the false prophet. The Antichrist is given many names through scriptures, by Jesus, by John the Divine, by Paul, and by Daniel in the Old Testament, who tell us and name who this beast is. And some of the names that are given to the Antichrist is the lawless one, the man of sin, the son of perdition, the abomination that makes desolate. They are just some of the names that are applied to this beast. When you look at this beast and you look at Scripture and you look at the world, we, I believe now, are getting a very clear indication of not only who the first beast is, but an absolute of who the second beast is, where there's almost no question as to who the second beast is. So what we have to look at is what has happened, or what is happening in our world and has been happening for the last 30 to 40 years, the rising of these two beasts. The scriptures tell us in Revelation 13, one will come from the sea, that is a sea of people, a lot of people groups. One will come from the land, a one people group. These two beasts have to rise at the same time. They have to give power to each other. That's what the scriptures tell us. So when you take that into account and you look at all of the scriptures, and it's worth looking at, as I said, Revelation 13, it's worth looking at Revelation 9 and Revelation 16. Very important, key to this understanding of this beast. Then you look at Daniel 7, who gives us a complete description of the end of the world, and then the coming of Christ and the judgment seat being set up. So it's a matter of going through, and you don't expect everyone to pull from all of the scriptures, but have a look at these ones I've described, and they will really clearly start to show you of who this beast will be or who this beast is. This beast will commit the worst, most horrific crime in the history of the world. So we look at people like Adolf Hitler, Stalin, Mao Zedong, Pol Pot, Idi Amin, and some of these people killed from a couple of million through to 30, 40 million people. This beast is going to kill a third of the world's population. That's what the scriptures tell us. So when you look at all that, you look at the evidence, you look at the world around us, we get a very clear picture of who this beast is going to be. So that's the first thing we can look at and know ourselves and read the scriptures yourself. Look at the world yourself. Then we are told in Revelation 13 that we are going to be forced to take a mark upon ourselves. This mark will mean that we can't do anything. We cannot function without this mark from this beast. Then you start to think about if they put a chip, which is happening today, not tomorrow, not 5 years from now. It's happening around the world today. People are getting a little chip put in their wrist. They're getting a chip put in the lens of their eye. They're even now getting a chip planted in their brain. This chip can then, it's all to be done for the good of humanity. Someone that is completely an invalid can have a chip put in their brain and control machines. What happens is, and we know through history, these things get into the wrong hands. Imagine if someone's got a chip in their brain and can control machinery everywhere. You could create mass murder like that. You could do the most horrific things. So we know the heart of man, it's not good. The scriptures tell us that. We know that we will just gravitate to the evil rather than to the good. That's just what we do as human beings. So what we have the beast, then we have his mark. So what we then want to go on and warn about, taking this mark, and what the scriptures tell us, don't take this mark. Don't get a chip in your wrist. Look, it's that clear. Don't get a chip in your wrist. Don't get one inserted in your eye. Don't get one put into your brain. We looked at 50 years ago, and it was the bank card, the 666 that was on the bank card. We thought, this is the mark of the beast. It's all here. It was just a of what is coming. So we're going to see this. I believe we're living in the age where we're watching this right now, today, and it's happening. We need to then be prepared so we do not have these forewarnings from God to not take this beast on, no matter what the situation, no matter what the circumstances.
So do you want to we'll just quickly read in Revelation 13 where it actually mentions the mark.
Yep.
So Revelation 13, verse 16 through to 18. And he causes all, the small and the great, and the rich and the poor, and the free men and the slaves, to be given a mark on their right hand or on their forehead. And he provides that no one will be able to buy or sell except the one who has the mark, either the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for the number is that of a man. His number is 666, and that's essentially what you've just been talking about there, about the chip in the wrist or in the brain, in the eye, the forehead, or the taking the mark upon yourself. So, as you mentioned previously, there's been speculation about what it could be, and people have been freaking out about lots of different things over the years. And one thing that we've discussed is that look, we don't know the exact thing it will be. We don't know the exact person who will be essentially the Antichrist. But what we do know is that it is warned of in Scripture, and we are to be wise in our pursuits, in as much as that we know this, it's been prophesied, and we will talk more about how much biblical prophecy has actually come about to the minute detail. So if we know that Scripture is true, and if we know that prophecy is real, and we are to be wise, well, then we just live with that filter. We just put things through that filter. We don't know the company that's going to make it. We don't know the exact details of the technology, but we know it's coming because it has been warned about in Scripture. Was there anything else that you wanted to say on that before we wrap up for this one?
We're going to, in the next episode, we're going to look at the warnings. In the warnings, we will look at in more detail about this, accepting this mark and what it is, and what an easy sell it will be, and how it will be so easy to convince people to take on this mark. We just got to look at COVID and this is real recent history of just what happened in COVID. So we'll have a bit of a look at that and just how easy it was to just get people to just submit. And so we'll look at that in the next episode, but we could probably leave that for here in this episode now.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks again.